The Trump shooting screwed news networks' RNC coverage plans. Joe Biden tells NBC News' Lester Holt that he feels bad that he said it's time to put Trump in a bullseye. This is from the Daily Beast. Being a journalist at the Republican National Convention just days after an assassination attempt on Donald Trump is like drinking out of a fire hose every day, Geoff Bennett said of the chaos of news gathering at a truly unprecedented time. I wonder why it would be difficult to report events as they happen. Let's read on. Bennett and Amna Nawaz are co-anchors of PBS NewsHour. They and their team had just arrived in Milwaukee, where the Republican National Convention is taking place, when the news broke on Saturday of a shooting while Trump was speaking at a rally. Not exactly the way we thought we'd be kicking off coverage at the Republican National Convention, Nawaz told journalists. Now get the selfish, arrogant, egotistical, and smug angle these so-called journalists have. Like every news network, carefully laid coverage plans at PBS were scrapped and angles were redrafted following the weekend's breaking news. We're not afraid to change plans, Nawaz said. There were plans for taped pieces coming into the Republican National Convention about the kinds of narratives and stories we could be telling on the sidelines. Those plans were all in place. Those plans went out the window when the assassination attempt on former President Trump. So think about this for a moment, folks. PBS, a supposed organization of impartial journalists, already had many segments recorded and taped and ready to air about the evil Republicans, the fascist Republicans, how they're all like Hitler, how they're all racists and bigots and homophobes, how the Republicans are the most evil people on earth. If only someone would stop them through some extra legal means, PBS would be there to applaud. And then suddenly, PBS had to throw out all of their pre-written attacks on Donald Trump as a fascist, as the next Hitler, because that might be too much on the nose to the assassination attempt against Trump. So these reporters were upset that they did not get to run with all of their partisan lies against Republicans and Donald Trump in particular. Now again, remember, this is from the Daily Beast, a partisan website. A growing concern, both among audiences and in newsrooms, is how to, as a matter of journalism, broadcast and give space to speeches, particularly from Trump, that peddle falsehoods, lies, and made-up facts. Should networks fact-check these speeches in real time? And if so, how would they go about that? Someone should have asked these reporters, have you ever thought about just showing up at the Republican National Convention and reporting what happened? Why would you need pre-written pieces going into a convention where your job, by definition, is to report what happens at that convention? But that's not what they viewed their job as. They viewed their job as protecting the Democratic Party by lying about the Republican Party and lying about Donald Trump so that their friends in the Democrat Party would win the election. That's not journalism. That's not fact-checking. I'd leave you with the words of Newt Gingrich.
He has been vilified by Joe Biden and the Democrats and the left wing more than any president since Abraham Lincoln. And this was a political act. It was a deliberate act. And as you know, because we've talked about it off air, I've said for 4 months that when all the legal baloney fails and when they begin to realize he is going to win, that violence is the next thing because they're that desperate. And I think we need to understand, people in this country have got to decide, are we going to be Americans and talk with each other as Americans, or are we going to become two bitterly divided factions? And right now, if you read what Joe Biden said last night, he's clearly in the bitterly divided side. If he has to totally split this country in order to try to retain office, he'll, at least through last night, he'll say anything no matter the consequences. This is a very, very dangerous moment. And I also have to say, I think the President Trump's courage, and here I echo what his son Eric said, his courage at walking off with the bleeding and putting up his fist and saying fight, to remind the crowd that he was going to go on, and as our champion, he wanted us to go on with him. I thought that'll go down in history, and that will help define who Donald J. Trump is.